Guys, in this training, I'm going to be running through some post-diet exit strategies. Now, even from my own Dubai sprint recently, when I got these photos taken and got into the best shape of my life, it was clear and evident to me that the exit strategy is a crucial part of the program. It's a crucial part of the diet and of the transformation itself. And unfortunately, this is where a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. Okay, because this is when you make mistakes here, you can undo your progress really quickly. So the transition out of your diet is equally, if not more important than the actual diet itself. So why does it matter? We've got post-diet adaptation. So we're at the end of a diet. Our diet fatigue is very high. I mean, we've been dieting for a long period of time, and we're just a bit sick of it, to be frank. So hunger and satiety are often impaired a little bit. You know, we're really hungry, quite ravenous, and we've been restricting ourselves for a long period of time. Metabolic adaptations, they're going to be slight, but at the end of the day, you've dropped some body fat, so your body's carrying less weight against gravity. So there is a slight metabolic adaptation, although it's probably not as pronounced as some people make it out. Training performance and recovery declines with just not having as much fuel on board. That's why you're not hitting as many PBs. A little bit of mental fatigue and stuff like that you get from low energy, depending on how low your energy goes. And that exit strategy is crucial in order to solidify and consolidate the progress that you made. And depending on how the diet went for you, this could be a case of you consolidating the progress that you've made. Say you've dropped 10 kilos or something like that, but you've really got another 10 to lose or another 6 or 7 to lose. Then, but we're kind of done with dieting for this phase. We might just be looking to reverse out of the diet or come out of the diet, focusing on performance, focus on building some strength and getting some enjoyment back in the gym, shaking off that kind of diet fatigue for a period of time, letting everything kind of reset a little bit, building the calories up a little bit as well. And we'll do that for, might go 6 weeks, 8 weeks, depending on how long it may be. And then we might go, right, let's go back into a deficit and get the remainder of that 6, 7, 8, 9 kilos of body fat off, whatever we've got to do. That would be my advice, generally speaking. If we haven't got it all quite done, just come back to a maintenance phase for however long we need to come out for. 6 or 8 weeks is usually good enough, and then jump back in and get that body fat off. A diet should be done once. We only want to do this once. Once we do it once and do it properly, you should never have to diet again. The only thing you maybe do is a little tidy up before you go on holiday. The way I like to describe it is no more than 6 weeks away from absolute beach ready body, and I'm talking about abs being pretty lean. So that's the kind of the level that you would like to get to, or that's a good level to get to, and very doable for normal people. Like an athletic body composition is very doable. So you've got two ways of thinking about this: reverse dieting, gradually increasing calories by 50 to 100 calories per week until you reach maintenance levels, or else just returning to maintenance, or trying to return to maintenance in a lot quicker fashion. And there's pros and cons for each solution, and realistically it doesn't actually matter all that much. So whatever path we choose, what really matters is the monitoring of how we're going with things. Some people like to go the slow route, 50 to 100 calories per week. They're really worried about putting on body fat, and they just don't want to lose this progress and all the rest of it, which is, you need to have discussions around that, because your body weight is going to increase, but it's not body fat that you're putting on. There's a mathematical equation. Unless you're eating 7,700 calories extra, you haven't put on a kilo of body fat. You've got a bit of glycogen, and you've got a bit of water retention, and that usually levels out after 2 weeks anyway. So we would slowly increase calories by 50 to 100 calories per week, every single week, and you could reverse out of this in the exact same level of discipline, probably more discipline, in which you would go into the deficit. So coming out requires a higher level of discipline than going into the diet, because we only want to just increase by those marginal increases every week. Like 100 calories per day is like an extra banana per day. You're still going to be hungry. You're still going to be effectively dieting. It's not going to be easy, and this is why I tend not to really prefer this option. And we just make those slow increases, and you're going to put on minimal extra body fat with that. Now, considerations: some people, because diet fatigue is so high, like just that extra 100 calories just doesn't do it for them, and actually you still feel like you're being really restricted, and that can cause you to, even though in your mindset you're not in a diet, but you're, like, from a caloric perspective, you very much still are in a diet. So you can get caught in almost a bit of a mentality kind of conflict here, and this is what can cause people to overeat. So what we're worrying about at the end of a diet is overeating and binging. So whatever way we choose here, we need to be monitoring these two things carefully to see, what is the adaptations that's happening, both from a physiological and then a psychological perspective. Now, my preferred option is just a return to maintenance. So quickly increase those calories. So jump somewhere between your lowest dieting calories and your kind of estimated maintenance. So if your lowest dieting calories was like 1800 and your estimated maintenance is 2600, then we might just go, 2200, 2300, somewhere there. And that's a big jump initially, like extra 500 calories per day, for example. Like that's a good lift. And that's enough food to get in, usually, for most people to avoid that kind of feeling of binging. But people can very much still binge on those extra calories as well. Like I said, it's how you respond to that. Like some people think, yes, an extra 500 calories per day, I'm just going to go nuts. And it's like, no, like we don't want that. Any form of binging is where this is going to fall off completely. And it's where you're going to self-sabotage, and this is what we're really, really trying to avoid. So again, I can't stress this enough, monitoring the psychological and the physiological response to this. So we're going to restore glycogen and water rapidly. You're going to get a 1 to 3 kilo scale increase in the first week or so, but that's going to level out and drop out as your body water kind of regulates itself and everything just kind of settles back down. That weight will drop back off again. So again, just being educated and being aware of this, and being aware of what is going to, you can predict what's going to happen. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen, and just not going, I've put 2.5 kilos back on, I need to jump back into a diet. And then this is where people get stuck on the kind of hamster wheel of perpetual dieting, and more so than the actual choice of what we do from the dietary perspective, what we do from a training or a phasic approach to the next phase that you take on in your training is probably a lot more important. So you're going to get that relief from the caloric restriction. You're going to get hunger and satiety hormones are going to regulate a lot quicker. Rapid energy and mood improvements from those additional calories. But you just need a bit of that education around the rebound and what's going to happen with weight. You're going to see an increase in weight, but you keep track of your waist circumferences. It's not going to jump up. And I can tell you from my own experience right now that that's not the case. So this is what we've got in terms of evidence summaries in relation to the kind of research. Now, what I would say about research as well, this is looking at the kind of physiological responses and not necessarily the psychological, or not all of the psychological responses here. And it's a case by case basis. Like these might be the findings from these studies, but it is individual dependent. So you just have to be aware of that. Like if you're going slow coming out of it and you're finding like, I just feel like I want to binge, then it's like, right, okay, we need to ramp this up. You're not fixed on the path that you want to go down either. You can shift between the two, or a hybrid of something in between if that's the case. But the most important thing is we're starting to introduce more calories. Okay, so no difference really whatsoever. Return to maintenance, better for metabolic recovery, faster normalization of hunger and cravings. It's my preferred method. So now if we look at, it's what my job is to educate you on what's going to happen here. So assessing where you're at around food, assessing your kind of relationship with food as well, and how and this would be on a week by week basis through check-ins, like how are you feeling reversing out of this diet on a week to week basis, and clear and transparent answers are really, really important here, so we can make adjustments if we need to, even adjustments to the specific macronutrients to leverage things off satiety, and slowing down gastric emptying, things like that as well. So there's plenty of things that we can do. Obviously our weekly check-ins is as per normal, educating you on the normal response, so like the expected water and glycogen replenishment, which is not body fat. Okay, I can't celebrate this, and I can't reiterate this enough. And then celebrating those non-scale victories, because we should be focusing on strength gains, improved sleep quality, energy levels, enhanced mood, and then the most important part is transitioning to performance. Like, what is the phase after this phase? What are we looking to do? We don't just get a diet over and then just stop. This is what people do. They stop going to the gym, reverse back to old habits and behaviours, and they stack the weight back on. We should be focusing or progressing towards a strength goal, a muscle building goal, or a performance related goal within 4 to 6 weeks of that diet, of kind of finishing. We should still be keeping up our training, but then looking to focus, switch that focus up, and switch what way we're kind of trying to approach it. That would be the best way to navigate this. And this is where a lot of people, especially women, make mistakes, and they get stuck in this perpetual dieting. One, they tend not to diet hard enough and get the rate of progress that they need. And then two, when it comes to transitioning out, they don't transition to something like performance. They look at physiques and they say, oh, that woman is really toned. Actually, she's not toned. She's got a really high level of muscle mass, and she's had to strength train and focus on resistance training in order to get that physique. But women just can't, a lot of times, struggle to kind of make that association. So it's really, really important, this transition to performance after the diet. So what is the take-home message? In short, there is no metabolic advantage. There's no metabolic advantage to doing one or the other. It's purely going to come from a psychological perspective. That's what's going to be the contributing factor in terms of decision making. So wherever the psychology is, or whatever you think is going to work best for you, and then based on feedback on that week to week basis, just making adjustments to that. Support is definitely what matters most, and having a transition, having a phase to focus on next, and then making sure that we don't linger, we don't just hang about messing around like in not even at maintenance calories, but it's not quite dieting hard enough to see progress. Like, we're either dieting to see progress, or we're transitioning to maintenance and transitioning towards performance and another goal. However long we're doing that goal for, we need to set that phase and give it some time. And then if we still have body fat to go, like, we can focus on strength and performance or hypertrophy and performance or whatever it is for 6 to 8 weeks, build some calories, build some enjoyment around training, and then go back in and get that next, 6 to 10 kilos of body fat, whatever we have to get. But we have to have an approach. That is the key take home message. Make a decision and move forward quickly with it.